Kadosh Boker Or. This is Masechet Batra Daf Yomi Daf Kufnun Hamud Aleph 155A1. Basically, what we said was Hachi Ka'amar Lei. This is what Rabbi Yochanan came and he said to Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Yeah, he came and he said as follows. Yeah, he said like this. Bishlema ledidi. I understand according to me, Damina, that I'm going to say Raya b'kiyum ashtar, that there's going to be a proof to do the kiyum ashtar. Yeah, everyone has gimarot? You should have over there, yeah? That the Raya is going to be b'kiyum ashtar. So he says, Hainu de mishkach alav, but then we find the nachte lekuchot lenechasim. He says, why? That means if you're going to tell me that according to everybody the kiyum ashtar is already enough, and that's why they come and they say that even a Raya kazu, you don't need, because he's modebishtar. So if he's going to be modebishtar, you do not need to be mekayem. Hainu de mishkachala. So that's what we're going to find in the story of Bnei Brak, that the lekuchot came down and they took a chazakah until the mishpacha came and they started saying, no, it's ours. But according to you, that you're going to tell me raya be'edim, that the only proof is going to be when you bring witnesses. How's it going to be that in that story they went down and they took it? He says, if there's no edim, there's nothing there. So if they can never come and they can take it. Remember, there's a machloket. Is the raya with the edim or with the shtar? Okay, that was the original machloket that we keep on saying. So says the Gemara, Elmaleh, says Resh Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan, Modina lecha. He's going to say, Be'iter divnei mishpacha delav irurhu. The story of Bnei Brak, I'm going to be modeh that it's the irur of the bnei mishpacha. That's not considered irur. He says, my kamre. What were they saying? Katanaya. He was a katan. Chazaka en ha'edim chotzmim al hashtar ela im ken na'asa gadol. There's a chazaka. There's no such thing as somebody signing a document unless the guy was already a gadol. Meaning, a gadol was already going to be above our mitzvah, which means automatically, right? Automatically, the shtar is already a raya. Why is it raya? Because imagine right now, somebody's going to come to me, they're going to tell me, you have to sign. Remember that when you sign a document, you need the two witnesses to sign at the same time.
Starts.
We're in the middle of Kufnun Hamud Aleph. Yeah? What happens is like this. What do we just say? You remember we were talking about the entire machloket between the Shekish of Yochanan. When two people come to sign on a document, you need that the two people are signing at the exact same time. You cannot have somebody signing not at the same time. Two witnesses, they have to sign together. So when you have two witnesses coming and signing together, if I'm going to come and I'm going to see that we're talking about what? We're talking about a child, a minor. Why in the world am I going to come and I'm going to sign? I've never signed in such a case. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah? Fine? אין דבר כזה. אני אף פעם לא הייתי חותם.
אז החתימה שלו לא אמינה?
כן, אבל אף פעם לא הייתי חותם על דבר כזה.
אבל אם הוא יצא מן הכלל...
אין דבר כזה. זה מה שהוא אומר, זה חזקה.
אז אוקיי, זה לא תופס בקיצור.
בדיוק. אוקיי? פיין.
אנדר בר מצווה לא תופס.
אוקיי? פיין.
אנדר בר מצווה לא תופס.
No. So says the Gemara, he says there's a chazakah. Fine. Itmar, it was stated. Yeah? Katan. Me'ematay mocher benichse aviv. Right? From what age can he come and start selling, right, from properties that he inherited from the father? So says the Gemara, Rava Amar Rav Nachman, says Rava in the name of Rav Nachman, ben 18 shana, 18 years old. From 18. Rav Huna bar Chanina Amar Rav Nachman, ben 20 shana, 20 years. Okay? Fine. Where we skip out the brackets. Mativ Rabbi Zera, ask Rabbi Zera, מעשה בן ברק ואחד שמחר מסביב, ובאו בני משפחה ומת, ונדענו באו בני משפחה, והרהרו לומר קטן היה, בשם מיתה, ובאו ושאלו רבי עקיבא, מהו לבודקו? They wanted to check him. אמר להם, you're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to be מנבל. And furthermore, right, the simanim change. You remember this is the same story that we read yesterday. So says the Gemara, Bishma Lamandamar, I understand the Mandamar, Ben Shmona Shana, that it's going to be 18 years old, right? Kuftun Hamud Bet, 155b. Yeah? So hainu dekatu. Remember, the 5 minutes is 5 minutes. Please, everyone, try to be on time when we give them the time. So he says hainu dekatu ve'amrule, and that's why they come and they say as follows: Ma'u lebotko. They wanted to check. They wanted to check the body. Why? Because for sure, at the age of 18, you could find out whether be'emet he's already a gadol or not. There's no doubt. But if you're going to tell me it's been ben esrim, what's the difference? Right? Meaning like this? What's the difference between an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old? An 18-year-old, for sure, you're going to find out if he's 18 or if he's 13. You know, so I mean, you know that the guy's bar mitzvah or not at the age of 18. But between the 18, what's the difference? He says, "Veha." Now we learned in the Mishnah. Ben esrim shelo vishteh. If you have a ben esrim that he did not bring 2 pubic hairs, yaviu ruaya shu ben esrim. Bring a proof that he's 20 years old, right? And then what? Sadis. He's considered a sadis. He's considered Sarah. He doesn't do chalitza and doesn't do yibum. So it comes out that when you have a ben esrim that does not have 2 pubic hairs, we're going to say that the reason why is because he's a sadis, but not because be'emet he's a katan, right? And then so he says according to that, we're going to say the be'emet he's a gadol, right? So therefore it should be that it's going to be kayam then. So therefore, what does it help now? Bedikat kufo. What does it help the bedika on the body? We remember they wanted to come and they wanted to check the body. We went on Shalom, it's minavel, it's disgracing the body, everything. What's it going to help? If Be'emet he came and he doesn't have simanim, maybe he's a 20-year-old. And if he's going to be a 20-year-old, right? If he's going to be a 20-year-old, right? He's sterile, he's still a gadol. So what does it help? Because he didn't have simanim. So what does it help with checking the body of simanim? Now, if it's going to be the 18, so means according to everybody, you cannot be a 13-year-old selling the property of your father. It's either 18 or 20. So he comes and he says, if you're going to tell me 18, it makes sense. But if you're going to tell me 20, it doesn't make sense. Because let's say he did not have simanim. So therefore, but he was still a gadol. Why? He's sterile. That's a saris. A saris is a man that cannot have children. Right? You know that there's a saris, and how do you call by a woman? Ailonit. Ailonit. You've got a man is a saris, and a woman is ailonit, which means that they don't have the features, right, of the boy and the girl at the proper time. So a saris at the age of 20, if he doesn't have pubic hairs, he's called a saris, right? And therefore, one second, and therefore, right, one second, please. Yeah, and therefore, right, what happens is that once he gets to this certain age, that's it. He's considered a gadol, but he's just saris. He's a gadol. Yeah, he's just saris. So the age 20 does not help. Okay, that's what he said.
So 20 is the cutoff for saris? I mean, that's...
Lav itmar Allah, wasn't it stated on it? Amar Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, Amar Rav, says Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak in the name of Rav, Vehu shenoldu bo simane saris. He says, right, this Mishnah is talking about where it means it is mashma that there was simanim of saris, right? Remember that over there, right, by leilonit and even by a man, there's different simanim, right? So therefore, it's not just one siman of the pubic hair. There's others. So for example, I'll just give you a few. By the ailonit is that her voice, it sounds very manly. It doesn't sound like a woman, right? Her chest area is not really, right? It doesn't really grow. The hair, the pubic hairs, meaning that there's certain type of simanim that's by the woman. By the man, his voice never, he's always speaking like a little boy, right? Which means that he's always like, like he's got that sound still that, he doesn't, usually when a man starts becoming a man, right? It's puberty, all of a sudden his voice starts cracking and then it becomes, right? All these things. So there's many types of simanim. It's not just stam, that everything's normal and then like this. So that's the simanim of saris. So the Gemara says, Rava says, Daikanami diktani, that's also what we mean. Vehu has-saris. That is the saris, which means he's got different simanim of saris. Shemamina, so this comes to teach you, the Kavada Mishnah is talking about a 20-year-old that he has simaneh saris, but without that, we cannot just say coming, that stam, he's a saris. Right? We say that he's a katan or whatever it is, that he's going to come and he's going to grow later on, which means it's not just enough the age, there has to be other simanim as well. And the other simanim has to be also, right, the entire concept of simaneh saris as well. Obviously, if you want to look at the simanim, look in Yivamot, Pe Amud Bet. Fine. Simaneh saris ad kama. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. He doesn't have any simanim. So until when are you going to come and tell me right? That be'emet, that's it. You know, that he's considered a katan. Yeah? I understand that really be'emet, it comes to the age of 20. He still doesn't have pubic hair. So if he still doesn't have pubic hair, right? So I'm going to come and I'm going to say, fine. So he's a saris, right? But one second, whenever he doesn't have simanim. So if he doesn't have simanim, so what's going to happen? So therefore, until what age are you going to say that he's going to be a katan? So Tani Ruchia taught in a braita, adrov shnotav, until the majority of his life. What's the majority of a life? That's the full life. 36. 36. Yeah? 36. Because if you're going to tell me, Yemesh noten vayim shivim shana, so how much is chetzi? 35. So rov, 36. So 36 years old. Okay? That's what it is. So he comes and he says that if he didn't bring 2 pubic hairs until there, no matter what, he's going to be a saris, and he says he's going to be a gadol, even though he doesn't have any other simanim of saris as well. Okay? Fine. Kiyata lekamed Rav Chia. Yeah, when he came in front of Rav Chia, right? And now he comes and he says like this: Ikachish amale libre. If he was very, very skinny and very, like fragile, he would tell him, put on some weight. The ibre, if he was a little bit too much. So what happens? Amalu lichush. He told them, lose some weight. Tehane simane, because the simanim of se'arot, zimnin de'atu mechamat chishuta, vezimnin de'atu mechamat briuta. Sometimes they're going to be even magdimot level, right? Because they're going to come because he's too skinny, or sometimes because he's going to be too obese. So here actually it says it, by the way. Simane gadlut are talichim rabim beguf adam, right? Which come, they're going to be mushpaim migormim rabim. And therefore they could change from one person to another. So therefore, when he used to come and he used to say a person that is going to be the simane gadlut, they didn't come yet. So for example, the guy didn't have puberty yet. So what happens? He used to say, okay, if he's too heavy, we'll tell him, lose some weight. And if he's going to be too skinny, you tell him, put on some weight. Right? Why? Because all these things are factors that are going to have an effect on the puberty of the child when he's going to already come and have these 2 pubic hairs. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, so they're going to now have a question. Toch azman. Kelifne azman or kelachar azman? With the year that we talked about, that you're allowed to come and sell in the properties of the father, whether it's going to be 18, right, or 20, because that was a machloket. Was it 18 or 20, right? Is that considered before the zman, or is that considered after the zman? Which means when he comes and he says that he's going to be a katan until the 18, does that mean that he went into the 18th year, which really means he's be'emet 17, right? 17 in one day. Or do you say when it's a full 18 years? So for example, let's say I'm going to say, I'm going to ask you, what's your age? Yeah? So what are you going to answer? Yeah? So the majority of us, they come and they tell you, okay, so let's say I'm going to tell you I'm 35. So now the truth is, it's not really I'm 35. I completed 35 years. I'm in my 36th year. But I've completed 35. So the same thing. When you come and you say that it's 18 or 20, when you say 18, it means you're in the 18th year, which means that you're 17 in one day. And from then onwards, you're in the 18th year, or 19 in one day, which means you're in the 20th year. Or do you mean a full 18 years or a full 20 years? That's the question of the Gemara.
They say,
Rav, huh?
they say at least 18 years old.
Rav Amar in Rav Nachman says, Rav the name of Nachman, Toch Azman Kelifne Azman. Okay, which means beforehand is still considered before. But Rav Barashil Amar, Rav Nachman, Toch Azman Kelachar Azman. So it's machloket. Machloket. Yeah, fine. Vehad Rava, La Befirush Etman. Now, this that Rava just said is not mefurash. We inferred it. Why? There was a story of a Yoresh that he was within the Zman, right? Which means the Tocha Shana of the 18 or 20, that he went and he sold it. And afterwards he retracted. He wanted to retract. He regretted it. He came in front of Rava. He didn't do anything. So the reason why was they thought is because Tochazman was Kilifnei Azman. So that's why he didn't do anything. He was too early. He was too young. He needed another year. So he says Velohi, but it's not true. Hatam over there, Shtuta Yetira Chazabeh. He saw that he was a very tipesh. Because he was even being Meshachrer his Eved, and because of that, he was losing it. So because of that, he started saying, "Forget the shoteh. He's a shoteh. It's nothing to do with the age. He's a shoteh. This child is a shoteh. So that's why it's lo sav lo klum. He didn't do anything because he's a shoteh. Yeah, nothing to do with it. So that's what he's saying. It's like a miklala, right? Fine. Shalach le Gidal bar Menashia le Rava. Send Gidal ben Menashia to Rava. Yelamdenu Rabbenu. Teach us our master. Tinoke bat 14 shana v'yom echad. Hayoda betin maseh umatan ma'u. You got a girl that she's 14 years old. Yeah, in one day. What is it? Is she allowed to come and start selling and doing things in the property, right, or not? Right? So he's asking to do with, right, is the same halakha to do with a girl or not? Okay? So Shalach le, he says, I don't understand. Im yoda betiv masomatan, mekach mekach. He says, listen, you have it. It's a good mekach mekach. Right? V'lishlech le tinok. So he went and he said, why did he ask about a girl? Why didn't he ask about a boy? Meaning, why are you coming and you're telling me, by the way, a girl that's 14 in one day, and she knows business. She's a very good business deal. She knows how to sell, buy, this, that. So you're going to tell me that? So you come, why are you asking about a girl? Why don't you ask about a boy? So he says, so answers the Gemara, Masechet. That was the story. The story happened with a girl. So therefore, the Gemara has the story was with a girl. So he asked him about a girl. That's all that it is. But it would be what did? It was the same halakha. So continues the Gemara. So why did he ask then? A 12-year-old in one day. Why? Because she's already a gedolah. Remember that girls mature quicker than boys. And that's why by bat mitzvah, they become bat mitzvah already by 12, and a boy is only bar mitzvah by 13. So why are you telling me now 14-year-old in one day? Ask about a 12-year-old in one day. She's already a gedolah. And if she's a gedolah, so ask about that. Answers the Gemara, that was the story. That was the story. You know, sometimes they come and they say, no, but what? That was just a story. You know, there's nothing hidden here. That was just a story. So says the Gemara, yeah. Okay, this we skip out the brackets. Hahu, there was another story. Okay, Hahu pachot mi ben esrim. There was somebody that was less than 20 years old. The azal zabin nichse avuhu kegidar bar Menashia. That he went and he sold the properties of his father, just like Rava, right, told to Gidar bar Menashia. And because he was muhsak, that he knew about business. But then afterwards, he retracted. So what happened? He regretted it. Sata lekemed Rava, came in front of Rava. Amru le krove, the krovim went and they told him, Zilechol tamri ushte bekashiata berava. Go eat tmarim and throw the garinim in front of the house of Rava. Why? Because then Rava is going to look at him. He's going to say, hey, this guy's a shoteh. Look at this guy. He's coming. He's right in front of my house, right in front of the rabbi's house. He comes, starts eating dates. And the pits, he starts storing them. You know, he's like playing. You know, oops. You know, that guy. So, Avidach, he did that. Amar lehu, so Rava comes and he says, Zavin, whatever he sold is not good. Right? So, Kikatvu leshtara, when the Sofrei Bedin were coming and writing a shtar, right, for Psak Din, that it's going to be Mekach Batel, right? What happened is that he had to pay, right, the Sofer. So Amru le lekuchot, right? So the lekuchot went and they told to the Atom, yeah, 1 second. Zil Elmaleh le Rava, go tell Rava, Megillat Esther bezuza, shtara demor bezuza. If for Megillat Esther, which is so big, right? The sofer is going to pay 1 zuz. How could it be that he's taking for shtar 1 zuz? Yeah. So what happened? The lekuchot, they were also very smart, right? Why? Because Ki'ilu, he wants to come and show that he's a shoteh, because that's what the family members advised him. Family advised, you know how many times they do this, right? Somebody comes, right, in certain places in the world, they come, they murder. And then what happens? Oh, he's a shoteh. He doesn't know what he's doing. So therefore, what happens? He gets off the hook, as if Ki'ilu that he didn't do anything. Well, he didn't do anything. Put him behind bars for the rest of his life. He's shoteh. He's a menace to society. But lock him up. Yeah. But obviously they came and they give him a good advice. So what happens in order to get out of it? So what happens, right? So he comes and he says, right? Yeah, he learned it from Daf Yomi. So what happens? He comes and he says, what happens now is, right? They went and they played it back at him. Why? Because now he had to pay the sofer. Now when he has to pay the sofer, he has to pay a zuz. So they went and they said, you know what? You could get out of the money. Why? Go tell Rava, I don't understand. Megillat Esther is for 1 zuz, right? And I'm going to pay for the shtar of 1 zuz. Megillat Esther is 10 chapters, very long. You see how long it is when I have to read it here? And you're going to tell me a document is going to be the same price? What's going on over here? Right? Azal Amarle. So he went and he told them, right? When Rava came and he heard that, Amarle, he went and he told them, Zvine Zvune. It's a good sale. Amrule Kruve. So the family members tell Rava, Lekuchot agmeruhu, right? The lekuchot came and they taught him. So Amar lehu, so Rava said, right? He said, Masbire lesavar, right? When they're going to come and explain to him something, so obviously he understands. So Kevin de Masbire lesavar, if they explain to him, he understands, Meida yada. So then he knows them. And therefore it's going to be good. The Haida Varachi, so why did he do that? Chutzpah yetira udababe. Because he had a chutzpah, right? Meaning you have 2 people. Either Be'emet he's a shoteh, that he's coming in the house of Rava and he's throwing, the pits at the house of Rava, or he's a chutzpan. He says this guy's a chutzpan. He's not a shoteh. If you're able to explain to him something and he's able to catch on, he's not a shoteh. Because you see that he was able to come and back and give it to me. So therefore, even though the family member said, yeah, but they taught him. This was a whole invention. They came and they did this. Now, the other guys could have said, yeah, you guys also taught him. But it doesn't. But he said, no, one second. If they taught him a ta'ana and he's able to be twin, it's already enough. So why did he come to my house? It's a chutzpan. A chutzpan. Okay. So Amar Rav Huna bered Rav Yoshua. Says Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yoshua. Right? Uledut, eduto, edut. Yeah? To do it in edut, he's already an ed. Meaning, because remember, what age do you have to be an ed? Bar mitzvah. 13. You don't need anything more. Here, we're talking about a special deen about selling your father's properties. So fine. But here, edut is edut. Yeah, already from that age. So Amar Morzutra says Morzutra lo amran el metaltale. That's only for metaltalim, removable objects. Aval mekarke, but for karka, right? When we're talking about karka, he comes and he says, "Lo, it's not true. It's not going to be like that, right?" So he comes and he says, "Amar le Ravashi Morzutra says Ravashi Morzutra, Maishna metaltale. What's the difference in metaltalim? There's Zvine that he says it's a good sale. Ela meata he says." He says one second. Do you know that there's halacha? Halacha is piutot. Piutot is, right, there's a machloket. It's piutot 7 or 8 or 8 or 9, right? But basically, zmana piutot. That's the time also by zimun. When can you add a child for zimun? So it says over here, the piutot, right? It says over here, mechan mekach umemkaran memkar. So it means that whatever they sell, it's a good sale. Whatever they buy, it's a good buy. It's a good purchase. That's going to be my metaltalin. Hachanami, so to here, you're going to tell me that it's a good edut? Obviously not. We know that edut, you have to be bar mitzvah. So he says, Hatam ba'ina ve'amedu shenei anashim leleka. There by edut, it's written that 2 people have to come in front of the kohanim neshofatim, and you don't have 2 anashim. They're ktanim. They're minors. So since they're minors, it's not good. The other case, you just have that whatever they buy and sell. So if you have a boy, a 10-year-old boy, and he goes to Grove and he buys something, you're not going to come back after and say it's not a good sale. Why? It's a perfect sale. There's no problem with it. Okay. Until you're clear. Yeah? Okay. Amar Ameimar. Ameimar comes down and he says, Matanato, matana. Right? When this child of a yatom is gadol, what he gets from the property of the father, whatever he gives is going to be a matana, already from the age of the 18 or the 20. So Amar le Ravashi Lamimar says Ravashi Tamimar, Hashta now, umazvine de mekabel zuze amarta delo. If right now, when he sells something, you told me that it's still not good, Dilma mozil mizavim, because it could be that we're going to suspect that he's going to sell it for too cheap of a price, even less than the value, because he's not baki, he's not an expert. So kolshken matana de lo mata lilyade pelomide. So the most matana. Meaning like this: if you're going to tell me that he sold something, and a sale is not going to be valid because maybe he just doesn't understand, and therefore maybe he's selling it too cheap, and still what we're going to say is it's not a good sale. So kal v'chomer, then kol sheken, when he gives the matana, he didn't receive a penny. He's just giving out gifts. So kol sheken that he doesn't understand. Samalei, so he comes and he answers, right? Kufnun vav amud aleph on the top. V'litamech, and according to your reasoning, zavin shave chamsha beshita, in a case where the yatom sold a karka that was worth 5 for 6. So for sure he's getting money from it. So for sure you should say it's a good sale. Right? Why? Because but still the rabbis didn't make a differentiation. The rabbi said everything's batel. Meaning the rabbis didn't come and look at the deal and say, 1 second, let's look at the transaction. Was he making money? Was he losing money? If he's losing money, he doesn't understand. If he's making money, it's fine. No. They came and they gave a general rule. At this age, it's batel. It's annulled. Why? Because usually that we don't care about what was the transaction to find out. So obviously, Kimnu Rabbanan, right? That a child, he always wants money, and therefore, if you're going to come and tell him that he's going to come and he's going to sell, they're just going to show him the money. They're going to hear the bells, right? The coins, right? They're going to hear it. He's going to sell everything. He's going to sell his head, right? What does that mean? Just they're not going. Nobody's going to come and nobody's going to do such a thing.